I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Avi Yaron. The session's name is Courage, and you're soon going to find out about, I think, one of the most amazing and inspiring personal stories that I have personally heard, but probably you are going to hear too. So here are some facts. Avi Yaron is the founder and CTO, board member, of Visionsense. Avi Ron developed communication systems as an officer in the Israeli intelligence force, followed by an infrared diffused wireless communication salutation in DLDTelAviv13. He founded Mototech, which developed digital ignition systems for motorcycles. He was among the developers and instructors of Tel Aviv University's microprocessors lab. I'm going to stop telling you Avi Yaron's background story at this point, and I'm going to let him tell you the big story in his words. So, welcome, Avi.
Thanks, Tal. And I would like to thank Yossi and Sharona for inviting me. And I know it's tough competition with lunch, so thanks everyone that joined, and I hope not to bore you too much. Maybe I'll take this out. I don't think my story is about courage. Perhaps it's about being maybe determination, maybe just pure stubbornness or persistence. And it's also about how optimistic you could be when everyone tells you that you're going to die and you're only 26 years old. I was, of course, high on life and a lieutenant in one of the elite intelligence officer, units, and did my undergrad and grad in electrical engineering, and everything went great, and I had even my own Ducati. And one day I rode from university to my startup that I founded in the motorcycle space and had an accident on the Ayalon highway, and that changed my life forever. I learned that I had an inoperable, deep-seated brain tumor, and all my plans are just vanished. And obviously, when you're 26 and healthy and very successful, to learn from some, surgeon, the fly that fell in love with me, go, that you're going to die and you have no hope, I don't know. The emotions can start from shock and fear and disbelief, and of course the easiest one is denial, up to even distrust. And while the surgeon, he was the head of one of the neurosurgical departments here, told me, that was on Thursday, that I must have surgery on Sunday. Obviously I did not show up that Sunday and went to seek other advice, and unfortunately in my case other department heads provided a completely different opinion. One said that I can wait 3 months and be re-scanned. Another one said go have a biopsy, and I just didn't know what to do. My background is electrical engineering, not medicine. And unfortunately, I lost in these few weeks any trust that I had in surgeons and doctors, and I just started attending the medical library in Tel Aviv University and learning medicine, biology, anatomy, chemistry, all this Chinese language by myself to try and save myself. I know it's not recommended, trust me. And after months of reading articles and thinking that I understand, but later realizing that I'm clueless, I did start to pick up the jargon and understand and read literature and communicate with surgeons abroad, and I was very optimistic that I will somehow cure myself, okay? And after a year and a half of research and trying all the alternative medicines that no logical engineer would ever think of trying, when you're desperate and hopeless, you try everything, starting with, the regular Chinese medicine and hypnosis and bioenergy and various nutritional, perhaps promising miracles. And of course, nothing helped. And every 3 months, and I had another MRI, and the tumor just laughed at my face, okay? And it was a deep-seated tumor. It was exactly this in the middle of the brain, and in order to approach it, they would have to ruin lots of healthy tissue, and that's why they would leave me alive, but crippled. I would lose my mental abilities, I would have seizures, and I was 27 at that time, and I preferred dying over, living like this. And after flying to neurosurgical conferences worldwide, I did find a surgeon in New York that developed a unique method, and he was willing to operate on me. The surgery took place in NYU in 95, in May 95, and took 2 days, was shown on the CNN, and it was great. So I did pass, and the surgery took 2 days, and it took me like 6 months of recuperation. And after 6 months of really, I would say, excruciating pain and lots of complications, eventually I returned to Israel and tried to gain my life back. And just to learn, I'm jumping 1.5 years forward to learn in another control MRI that I still have a residual tumor, that the surgeon wasn't able to resect all the tumor. Of course, I fly back to Dr. Kelly, and he tells me that he doesn't have the technology to operate on me, that I'm lucky that it's benign, and I can wait 5 years for someone to invent it. He needs a miniature microscope, basically. And I just, A, it was shocking to hear from the best surgeon in the world for this region that he can't do anything to save me. And B, I thought to myself, I invented so many things, who cares? I invented digital ignition systems, and I was among the early developers of Wi-Fi, and I mean, who cares if you ride a faster, better motorcycle or have faster Wi-Fi if you're gonna die? And I would say that out of curiosity, I started learning, of course, in parallel to working and teaching, etc. What's wrong, and why, great companies like Olympus or Zeiss or Pentax, why can't they develop this instrument that my surgeon needs to save me? And during this time, of course, I'm living with a ticking bomb, right, that will explode in my head. And I don't know whether it's psychological or realistic, but of course, I always have headaches, and every headache makes you, of course, extremely worried that are you going to die or not? Is it just, And eventually, human beings get used to living like that. I mean, with such high level of uncertainty. And I even flew to meet these companies, and none of them had a good explanation why they couldn't develop it. And while I'm not an optical, maybe I'll try here, while I'm not an optical engineer or anything like that, maybe I'm just curious, I started to learn how the brain perceives vision, and hey, works. And thank you. And what's wrong with these companies? And eventually ended up with finding a completely alternative solution. The approach that is, I would say, even pretty much to date, but definitely back then, to removing a lesion, and I'm sorry for the blood, is basically opening the skull, okay? A big opening through the brain, and using this monster, which is called a microscope. And this is how surgeons work. They look through the microscope, which is focused on the patient, and on the way to curing him from the lesion, they cause many other complications. I'm not saying it's always like that, but too many times. This is reality. And I thought that, I know technology, things could be done better. And eventually, after a few more years of research and understanding, I invented a completely different concept, which is semiconductor-based and not optics and mechanics. And I don't know why. Can you switch to the next slide? Thanks. That can do the same thing or even more. And this is Visionsense. I mean, Visionsense is more than 15 years old. לא, לא עובד. לא ה-page down ולא ה-cursor, שום דבר. And basically, I started my journey of trying to serve a very conservative market that is used to, I would say, unfortunately, chisels and hammers on using high-tech instrumentation in order to improve the quality of life of the patients. Okay, so this is basically the semiconductor miniature chip, and now Visionsense introduced its third generation. This one, which is even like full 3D HD in 4 millimeters, and we're introducing like malleable cameras, etc. And we're really revolutionizing the market, introducing high-tech tools like real-time digital, 3D measurement and image fusion, but you can't see any of these, and we're still מה שאתה רוצה, אני כבר מסיים את ההרצאה. Can you just show whatever these slides instead of me? I'm just ugly and so anyway, I'm still, even after 15 years, I'm still challenged, of course here, alive and kicking, thanks, but more than that, challenged to try and serve the people that saved me and introduce them to high-tech solutions, again, just because they can do so much better, see more, and be less invasive. And I'm very proud that many of the major centers in the world now are using Visionsense to save lives. And this is, again, this computer is completely disrespectful. This is, if you could see, this is surgery, how it's performed now. You could hardly see the patient. He's all covered, and they're doing this, oh, come on. They're doing this surgery through the nose. I mean, so if I may be, and I always think people should be humble, Visionsense is managing to convert neurosurgery and switch from invasive to minimal invasive and less invasive. And we have over, you know, over 100 centers, leading centers worldwide using our technology and lecturing, and we have lots of clinical evidence why this is better, improving the outcomes of patients. And for me, I would say it's a journey of 15 years of course, humility when you learn that you're going to die and you could do nothing about it, and enjoying to serve the people that saved me while enjoying working, you know, with people in high tech, and it's mostly about not giving up, because I would have been dead by now if I would have been operated in '93 by the first surgeon that saw me, and Visionsense would have been dead 4 times by now if I would have surrendered to the technological difficulties or to the financial barriers that we faced. And this is why I said in the beginning, this lecture is not about courage, it's about determination. So I'm very happy to be here, very happy to answer your questions about any issue. I'm proud to say that after 9 years in the US, we just relocated, my family and I, back to Israel. So I'm very happy to be here and happy to help anyone who needs help. Thank you. Here, now you could see, this is the patient. This is the patient's nose, okay? And this is the Visionsense camera. They're looking on a stereoscopic display. That's why they're wearing glasses, just like in the movies. And this is the patient here, okay? This is really like an Atari game now. No more big opening, no more nothing. Patient is released home same day, significantly less complications, morbidity, mortality. Please. Hi. I don't believe in inventing wheels, and I love open architecture. Visionsense, all the people that direct employees are, PhDs, experts in our fields, and we always outsourced anything else, starting with mechanical engineering, ending with manufacturing and assembly. I'm very proud that all of it is in Israel, although it's a global company. We definitely have tried and are trying to cooperate with big companies that have the sales and marketing forces. Unfortunately, in the medical field, which is so conservative, typically they would lack the ability to lead and handhold the surgeon. And we learned that we need our own direct sales force to make it happen, at least in the US. In Europe and the Far East, it's different. They're more, I would say, classical. And they would work longer term. So in Europe and Far East, we work with distributors that manage to educate the surgeons. In the US, we have a cadaver lab with a course, typically during a weekend, probably once a month. Surgeons fly over and other peer surgeons educate them. It's a long, long, painful process. And of course, there is the huge difference between the technology that leaps forward and in 3-4 years becomes obsolete and you need to invest millions in the new generation, to the very slow process of market adoption. A huge gap in the medical technological field, especially when you reinvent the wheel. Did I answer? Well, the microscope is still the norm, and Visionsense is used more for the high-end, skull-based, deep-seated, and I believe it will take 20 more years till Visionsense becomes the actual standard for all surgeries. It's a very, very slow process. Thank you. Affected? Wow. Many tens of thousands. Many tens of thousands. Yeah. Well, I personally always have the time to help any patient, whether it's just to give a big hug or advice or to refer. And I do it even a few times a week to this date. And it's just horrible. I think that the medical system, while may have the best system and surgeon, still I think lacks the mental support that the patient that yesterday was healthy and today just learned that he's going to die or she's going to die, they need lots of mental support. And the healthcare systems just lack enough, so I try to do whatever I can, And it's my biggest pleasure in life, I think, other than my family and children, to be able to touch upon the lives of so many people and leverage. And while we're talking, I think that Asia is operating and West Coast went to sleep and East Coast will wake up and start working, and I find it amazing on a daily basis. And very rewarding for me as someone who had the knife, and I have 4 holes all around my brain, and now this surgery could be done so much better. Any other question? So thank you. I hope I haven't bored you, and bon appetit. Thank you.